Check out carmarshal.com. The link is in the description. They help support us.
Police union agrees to cooperate with Citizens Oversight Board but will fight illegal request for subpoena power. January 29, 2018 by admin in Labor News from our region with 0 comments. By Ed Finkelstein. Publisher. An effort by the St. Louis Police Officers Association to support a Citizens Oversight Board, COB, and its investigation into cases involving the use of deadly force was turned upside down when the several city aldermen moved to ignore a previous agreement with the police association that subpoena powers for the COB were not necessary. The COB is an independent body of citizens appointed by the mayor that reviews disciplinary recommendations involving allegations of police misconduct. Although law protects investigative files in such cases, the union had agreed with the city's councilor's office to provide them, along with summaries of officers' statements, to the COB to ensure they had the information they needed to make a fair judgment. As part of the agreement, subpoenas would not be used. The union has pointed out a number of times that the COB does not have the legal authority to issue subpoenas, a position the city's own attorneys have acknowledged in the past, the association noted. If the Board of Aldermen passes the proposed legislation, it will negate the voluntary agreement. Subpoenas in this case are first, illegal as the statute doesn't give that authority to the COB. We would challenge it in court and it would mean extra expense for the city to defend when they could be using that money for more productive uses, like fighting crime or providing better police salaries to enhance recruitment, said Jeff Ruerda, business manager for the association. Secondly, an officer's testimony could be used by anyone to file criminal charges if they didn't like the COB's final decision, and that's basically unfair to the officer. So, if the COB had subpoena powers, we would advise officers to exercise their constitutional rights and not testify, thus the COB would have less information in their decision-making process. As we have agreed, officers will fully cooperate with the COB. There's no need for this unnecessary, and we believe illegal, step. Waste of taxpayers' money. The union notes that past cases have shown the proposed legislation is illegal, the city knows it, and that pursuing them would be a waste of taxpayers' time and money that could be used to fight crime, Ruerda said. There are 2 bills in question. Board Bill 233 would authorize subpoena power for the COB. Board Bill 234 would allocate $1.5 million to create a unit in the Circuit Attorney's Office to investigate the use of deadly force by police officers. But Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner already investigates police use of deadly force, and does so using her existing budget. In addition, the union's lawyers recently filed motions in court to disqualify the Circuit Attorney's Office from investigating such cases, citing the conflict of having officers who use deadly force investigated by the same office that is prosecuting the alleged criminal against whom they've used that force. Allocating another $1.5 million to Gardner's office to continue investigations she is already conducting is utterly insane and a colossal waste of tax dollars that we should be using to put murderers behind bars, the union said. Double cross. This is a gigantic double cross by the sponsors and supporters of these bills. We had a deal, the union said in a press release. The law doesn't allow for subpoena power, the COB hasn't asked for subpoena power, and we agreed to give them records we didn't have to give up so that the COB would have everything they needed to do a thorough investigation without subpoenas. We have a new chief and a great opportunity to refocus our efforts on crime fighting. This is nothing more than a distraction that takes away from those efforts. The Board of Aldermen should get serious about crime and stop playing political games, the union concluded. #information in their decision-making process.
The St. Louis Civilian Oversight Board reviews and investigates citizen complaints on alleged police misconduct. Joining us are Executive Director Nicole Barton and Board Member Heather Highland. Welcome, Heather and Nicole.
Thank you. Glad to be here today.
Yeah, so this is a fairly new department within the city of St. Louis, and why was it started?
So there was a push from the community to have a civilian oversight of law enforcement many years ago. Out of the wake of the Ferguson crisis, there was a bigger push so that St. Louis City can be proactive in oversight. In 2015, the ordinance was finally passed, and our board members were nominated by aldermen and appointed by the mayor.
And Heather, you're a board member.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about your role.
So we primarily review all of the complaints that come in. Initially, they go to Internal Affairs Division, they do an investigation, they turn everything over to us. We get all the materials ahead of our meetings. We have meetings once a month. The public can come to our open session. And once we've reviewed everything in our closed session, because it is a confidential employment issue, we discuss it, and then we vote on whether we agree with the findings of the Internal Affairs Division or whether we disagree with the Internal Affairs Division. And then in open session, we then communicate our decision with the public who do attend our meetings.
Okay, so the whole objective of transparency and also an opportunity to protect the rights, I guess, if you will, of our citizens.
Absolutely. So we're here to protect the rights of both the citizens and our law enforcement as well.
Okay, so and Heather talked a little bit about the process and how it works, and there's obviously a lot of steps involved when somebody issues a complaint. So how does that start? So what's the first thing that happens?
So anytime somebody feels that they have had been a victim of misconduct, alleged misconduct by St. Louis City police officer, they can contact us by phone. We have the complaint form on our website. They can go to North Patrol, South Patrol, or Central Patrol and pick up one of the forms, or they can walk into our office at 1520 Market Street, room 4029, and pick up a complaint form. And so part of that process is for the complainant to put their information down, write a brief synopsis of what happened or what they feel happened to them, and then that information, that complaint form, is turned over to our Internal Affairs Division, and they have 90 days to investigate that complaint. And once that complaint is fully investigated, the file is turned over to our office, and we review, analyze, and we can also, the board can also vote for us to do an independent outside investigation if they feel that one is warranted.
Heather, how are the investigations done? So what kind of information is gathered, and how does that process take place?
Well, if there is a police report involved, we will get copies of the police report. There have been occasionally medical reports or photos, and then at some point the Internal Affairs Division will interview witnesses and interview the complainant. And we have sort of a rotating schedule of board members. Usually a board member and one of our investigators will attend the interview. And then once they've sort of wrapped up the whole package and made their decision, then it goes to us.
Okay, and so 90 days roughly from that first complaint, when the complaint is registered, to resolution?
So we also would like for the complainant to come in within 90 days of an incident as well.
Okay.
So, and we asked that because if there was any video footage, a lot of times any video footage can be taped over, recorded over a period of time. So if it happened at a convenience store, they don't maintain those videos forever. So we ask that the complainant comes in within 90 days to make their complaint of the date of the incident, and then yes, the complaint is turned over to Internal Affairs Division, who has 90 days to investigate and turn back over to us. If with good cause they would need an extension, then they could have an extension granted as well.
Very good.
Then, as Heather said, we meet monthly. So there's times that we may ask for further information, and we may have to talk about it and discuss it again at another board meeting. So usually from the time a complainant comes in to the time that a final decision has been made and a vote from the board can be anywhere from 5 to 6 months, would you say?
Good. All right, we're going to take a quick break right now, but come back and hear more from you all about everything that you're doing for our citizens here. Stay with us at STL Live. There's more right after this.
Last month in St. Louis, there was a brawl in City Hall.
Chaos erupting at St. Louis City Hall, and it all happened in front of News 4 cameras.
A pushing and shoving match, and at the center of it is the president of the Police Officers Association.
The matter before the city's aldermen, whether to create a civilian review board for the St. Louis Metropolitan Police. As NPR's Martin Kasey reports, civilian oversight is a favorite tool for police reformers, but police say the boards are unfair.
Civilian oversight of the police isn't new. One of the pioneers of the idea was a lawyer in Kansas City named Sid Willens. He says his eyes were opened back in 1965 when he tried to get justice for a client who'd been badly beaten while handcuffed. Willens says the police department's internal investigation just confirmed the officer's version of what happened.
It's like having the fox guard the chicken house.
Willens managed to prove that his client had been mistreated, and in the process he decided that the police needed an ombudsman, a civilian entity outside the police department that could take these complaints. The department resisted for a while, but this was the mid-'60s, and there was pressure to reform the police. So eventually it gave in.
Once the cops got used to it, it worked, and it's still working. Because what you're doing is simply trying to do what every business tries to do, is get rid of the rotten apples, and there are very few overall.
The concept spread, promoted by civil rights leaders who saw it as a remedy for police racism. Today there are more than 200 civilian oversight entities around the country, though they vary a lot in their powers to investigate and punish officers. And the police still tend to distrust them.
You need to have an appropriate mindset towards policing.
Jim Pascoe is the National Executive Director of the Fraternal Order of Police. Like many officers, he believes civilians are too prone to play Monday morning quarterback.
The fact of the matter is that an officer has to make a split-second decision involving life or death. And civilian review boards tend to be, by definition, made up of civilians who have no particular experience or insight into what went through that officer's mind, what the circumstances were, and how desperate things can become in that nanosecond.
He says the civilians just aren't qualified to judge whether a cop followed a department's use of force rules. But Pierce Murphy doesn't agree.
I don't think it necessarily takes having been out in a squad car or walked a beat to be able to take the evidence, weigh it, and decide whether the rule is followed or not.
Murphy is the director of the civilian oversight entity in Seattle. It's called the Office of Professional Accountability. His office investigates police misconduct, and he has police sergeants working for him. But he, the civilian, is the one who decides whether to pursue a case. And he's trying to put even more distance between the police and his office.
I've moved it outside and down the street from police headquarters. We're 2 blocks away. We're in just a generic civilian office building with a donut shop in the lobby. And, people don't have to go into the police department if they want to complain about the police.
This is happening in part because Seattle is one of the cities that the U.S. Justice Department has been pressuring in recent years to reform the police. These days, when the feds investigate a city's police department, one of the main things it insists on is civilian review of complaints. It's a philosophy that's in ascendance again in this post-Ferguson landscape, and increasingly it's something the cops are having to learn to live with. Martin Kasey, NPR News.
County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of your news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheep up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Sheriff County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. just think if each one of you subscribers just gave a, let's say, actually, yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But, you know, do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, you know, at least I can do it. You know, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt-free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, you know, if I got, you know, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. You know, 47,000 of you so far right now. You know, $1 a day. I mean, $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.